The Port Harcourt International Airport has recently been tagged the worst airport in the world. Two other major Nigerian airports were in the top 10 worst category. In this background report, the federal government says that it is not pleased with the reports as the nation's terminals remain a work in progress. But another party believes that the airports are not fit for the 21st century.
The MMIA is unarguably Nigeria's most popular airport, but no thanks to a recent survey from the travel website Sleeping in Airports, this airport is mentioned as the last of the 10 worst airports in Africa. As part of a national airport remodeling exercise in 2012, the Murtala Mohammed International Terminal was expanded on the D and E wings and extended a few meters forward. Part of this project covered the Port Harcourt International Airport, which is ranked the worst not only in Africa, but across the world. The Abuja Airport is also on the list of the worst airports as construction work continues there.
Let's also call a spade a spade. We have horrible airports. They're not really nice. We need to make them better, we need to make them functional and fit for purpose.
The Aviation Ministry does not quite agree.
I flew in from Abuja to Lagos. About 5 airlines were boarding at the same time. I didn't see any chaos there. It was a smooth operation. Passengers were going into various buses assigned for the airlines, and everybody, the whole operation was very smooth.
The federal government is hopeful that the $500 million Chinese loan facilitated new terminals in Abuja, Lagos, Port Harcourt and Kano will make its 2016 opening date.
Well, joining us further to look at the happenings in the aviation sector in Nigeria is Mr. Chris Aligbe. He is an aviation consultant. I want to thank you so much indeed for coming on the News at 10. You just heard that report. Let's pick it up from there. There are very simple things in the airport. I mean, like you have the escalators, you have the convenience, you have the stalls where people sell things, and the baggage claims area. How comes we have the situation in the Nigerian airports this deplorable?
Well, Gimba is quite saddening, one must accept. The fault is not in the managers of the airport, it's not with those managing the airport from FAN. But the fault is in our system. That's where the fault is. We have left our airports for so long a time that at a point, they became a collective shame to our country. Any airport, whether from our flagship in Lagos, Murtala Mohammed Airport, or Abuja, or Port Harcourt, the international airports, those we named as international airports, 5 of them, they were a collective shame. Up to today, yes, so many things are not working. But because we have not invested properly in these airports, I will tell you, and investing properly, we have not used the right people to look at the airports, tell us what the airport should be. Airports in the 21st century, even airports in the 20th century, I think we have been left behind by time. We just sat and we continue that way. That is what has happened with our aviation. There's no airport in Nigeria you will go to, you say you have a wonderful airport experience.
So what have we as a country, what have we been focusing on all these years of investments into the aviation sector?
I don't think we have been focusing any in terms of investment because the airports are managed by government. They are centrally managed. 22 airports in our country being centrally managed. Even the states that build airports, they never use the right people to advise them on what airports to be built, on what kind of model they should use. Today they finish building it, tomorrow there's a problem. That's what we have experienced. And the ones we built before, we didn't use the technical people. The airports that people can talk about today in the country may be the MM2. Okay? Unfortunately, Port Harcourt Airport is under construction. First and foremost, I think it is wrong for anybody. It is wrong and unprofessional for anybody to categorize or grade an airport that is undergoing construction. So those who graded Port Harcourt Airport, while it's under construction, didn't do a fair job. They are not professional. I don't think that is what should be done. But having said that, even when that airport is finished, there still not be any one airport in Nigeria that qualifies to join the League of World Standard Airports. There will be none. Yes. The improvements made in the last dispensation were just expansion, space expansion.
Space expansion.
And yes, from at the check-in point, and then at the baggage reception point, with about adding one carousel each to the wings, having 6 carousels as against 4 before. But honestly speaking, those who say we don't have airports anywhere are correct.
Now, let's take a look at some statistics here. Going by the records that we have, 400 billion naira was spent on remodeling the terminals. Could it be that the infrastructure put in place during the past administration deteriorated so quickly?
Infrastructures don't deteriorate so quickly.
So what happened to the 400 billion naira?
I wouldn't know, because I was not part of the spending, if that is what was spent. But all that I think is that there's some poor quality work. I think those who were engaged in building the airports maybe did that in a hurry. And so the quality of work was poor. Initially, when you fly at onset, we found them, they were very beautiful. They were better than what we had before. But just a little while, they deteriorated. But there were also so many things that we need in the airports that were not put in place, because I don't think there was so much reliance on the technical competencies that you find in FAN. No matter what anybody wants to say, there are still technical competencies in FAN that will tell you they know what an airport should be, they know what is required from an airport.
So what's the way forward?
The way forward, we should, the incoming minister, I have a lot of sympathy for him. I don't know who he is, but we should immediately put in place a concessioning system. We must concession all our airports. There's nowhere in the world, except maybe in the Middle East, that government uses its money to finance airport development. They concession them. But before we go into concessioning, there must be proper frameworks. The National Assembly must come in to have proper frameworks, and then we should have it well set out, so that at least the integrity we lost in the past over concessioning, we should regain it, because all the concession of the past sat on framework void. There were no frameworks. They were sitting on void, and that's why we have problems. So the first thing to do, and it's an urgent thing, very urgent, that we must have these frameworks, but the focus of the minister is right from day one, is to put in place a concessioning process for all our major airports.
I want to thank you so much indeed, Mr. Chris Ligbe, for joining us on the News at 10, an aviation consultant, of course.
Thank you, Gimba.
The European Union says it has committed over 4 billion naira on the eradication of polio and other vaccines, preventable diseases, through its EU SIGN program in Nigeria. According to the program coordinator on training, Mrs. Aminata Sibidi, the intervention is meant to consolidate the gains already made in eradicating the wild polio virus. The World Health Organization delisted Nigeria from the list of the polio endemic countries last month, but urged the government to sustain efforts at the 2017 target to declare the country polio-free. Moving on now to business news with Anne Omaodo.
You first. First Bank.
Hello and welcome to Business News. Nigeria's manufacturing activity as measured by the Purchasing Managers Index, or the PMI, shows a modest recovery at 52.6 reading in the month of October, and that's against 51.6 in the month of September. In a research report released today by investment bank FBN Capital, 3 of the 5 sub-indices were in positive territory in October, while the other 2 were in the negative territory. FBN Capital says the latest reading is in line with the GDP estimate. The investment bankers expect another shocking set of figures for the third quarter and an improvement in the fourth quarter once the federal government reveals its 2016 budget plans. The Central Bank of Nigeria has extended the timeline for bank verification numbers exercise for Nigerian bank customers in diaspora till January the 31st, 2016. A statement made from the bank's Director, Corporate Communications, Mr. Ibrahim Mazu, explains that the extension was to enable the customers complete their enrollment exercise as well as link the BVN with their respective accounts. Stressing that the extension was for customers in diaspora alone, the statement advised deposit money banks to ensure that the exemption was utilized by the targeted group. Meanwhile, the central bank has also expressed satisfaction with the progress made in the implementation of the BVN project locally. With the expiration of the October 31st deadline, owners of accounts without BVN will be able to deposit but unable to withdraw from such accounts. Successful women in leadership positions have been advised to mentor fellow women in rural areas for economic advancement. And this is coming from the members of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry Women Group. Well, the group believes that rural women settlers in Nigeria are potential enough to contribute to economic development, but they stress the need to support them through education.
The issue of leadership has been brought to the fore. Many of the women know that we have what it takes. Many of us have been able to go to school, developed ourselves in a manner that we can hold our own. It's not like before that you have to depend on the man or you have to depend on one area or the other, to be able to advance. But now you have women who have risen up academically. We have women who have brought themselves up. We have women who have been to Lagos Business School and such places where the advancement of their psyche has reached a developed stage.
The former First Lady, Mrs. Babangida, had a program for the rural women. And you'll be surprised. There are a lot of rural women who are very intelligent. They just need to be helped to show the way. And they will improve on their farming and how to preserve their products. So all we need in life is somebody to show you the way.
Equities at the Nigerian Stock Exchange started the first week in November with bearish sentiments, pegging the all-share index at 29,136.85. Temple Ashaju tells us more.
Hello and welcome to Stock Market Report. Bearish sentiments continued at the Nigerian Stock Exchange, even as more disappointing third-quarter corporate earnings trickled in. The all-share index starts the first week in November 0.14% lower at 29,136.85. The total market value or capitalization also declines to 10.01 trillion naira. The top 3 losers were led by food giant Nestle with a 0.49% drop to 821 naira. And it's followed by Unilever, down 4.99% at 36 naira 75 kobo, and UACN, which lost 4.98% to close at 25 naira 16 kobo. The top 3 gainers for Monday session are PZ, Flour Mills of Nigeria, and GT Bank. The financial services dominated the activity chart, and top on that list was UBA with 116.82 million shares. At the end of the day's session, 308.12 million shares were exchanged by investors in 2,888 deals valued at 2.96 billion naira. And that's the Stock Market Report. I'm Temple Ashaju.
Thanks a lot, Temple. Well, around the globe, it was mixed sentiments across the markets. Let's take a look at some of those figures. And that's it on Business News for tonight. Thank you for watching. I am Anne Mwawadu. Gimba will be back with the rest of the news at 10.
You first. First Bank.
Journalists in Nigeria had some reason to cheer today as they were rewarded for their relentless efforts to keep the spotlight on issues that affect our daily lives. Nigerian Breweries PLC, organisers of the annual NBPLC Golden Pen Awards, has announced the winners of the 7th edition. The event, which took place in Lagos, brought together journalists in the photo and print categories. The winners, who were celebrated for their exceptional creativity, received various prizes.
Journalists and media veterans converged for the Nigerian Breweries PLC 7th Golden Pen Award, with the governor of Abia State as the special guest of honor. He asked Nigerian journalists to be alive to their responsibility.
It depends on journalists to redirect the thoughts and thinking of the world about us, for them to focus on things that are good and things that will add value to what we are doing here.
While the audience eagerly awaits who wins the much coveted award, the chairman of the jury gives a clue about the qualities being searched for in terms of originality, creativity, news value, and social responsibility of the entries submitted.
We looked at the originality and creativity in the report, the news value of the report, the use of resources, credibility and factuality, infographics, layout and headline, clarity, and of course the social responsibility value of the piece itself. Second runner-up is here.
The various winners in different categories are announced and they get on stage to receive their prizes.
200,000 naira and a Samsung S5 mobile phone. The winner.
Now is the moment everyone is waiting for as the winner of this year's entry is announced. Anthony Akeze of Tell Magazine emerges the winner of the 7th Golden Pen Award.
Our company is also very proud to say that this award has so far achieved its objective of encouraging professionalism in reporting.
As the Nigerian Breweries PLC continues to demonstrate unwavering support for hard work and excellence in the journalism profession, what really is the Nigerian Breweries PLC up to?
It's a demonstration of the transparency of the present regime.
Nigerian Breweries PLC is set to change the world for the better by giving wings to the power of creativity through the pen.
And still ahead on the news at 10. More trouble watches for embattled Chelsea manager. English Football Association slams Jose Mourinho with one-match stadium ban and a £40,000 fine after admitting to a misconduct charge. That's on Sports News. Do join us again.